Someone asked how they can stop experiencing the stories of the mind. That's exactly what the mind is. It's a storyteller. It's just telling stories all the time. Telling stories. And you're simply paying attention to the stories. You're paying attention to the stories because you're interested in the stories. So see that you have some interest. The same way that you have interest in a novel, you continue attending the book. Now, if you didn't have an interest, you wouldn't pick up the book. When you become disinterested in the novel, you put down the book. Like this, the same thing happens with the mind. You continue to attend the mind because you have an interest in the stories that it's telling. It's grabbing your attention. You are attending the storyteller. It's like a physical storyteller. Here I am in this chair, and I'm about to read. I've got 3 kids, and I'm about to read a story. Gather around, kids. I'm about to read a story. It's story time. Daddy's reading a story. 3 kids attend the storyteller, and I tell a story. So like that, that's all that's happening, is the attention is attending the storyteller, the mind. But when there's no longer the interest in the story, the attention stops attending the storyteller. So what happens when the attention stops attending the storyteller? Well, there's just simply silence. All stories start and end in silence. What you are is the silence. But you won't discover that you're the silence unless you lose interest in the story. You realize that you've always been the silence. That the story is actually appearing in silence. The silence actually doesn't depend on the story. The silence is ever present, even while the storyteller is telling stories. By just simply losing interest, you stop attending the storyteller. And when you stop attending the storyteller, you just simply are attending the silence that you are. It's the attention that's no longer going towards the storyteller, being identified with the story, being interested in the story. There's so much interest in the story because of the identification with the main character. The same way that you can really fall in love with a story because it resonates, because you are identified with the main character. Look at any story that you really like. It's because it really resonates with you, because you really see yourself as the main character. It always feels like it's close to home. You can really relate. See, the stories that we really like are the more relatable stories. when you relate to the story, you become very attracted to it, immersed in it. You are identified with the main character. That's all that's happened. You're so identified with the main character it makes the story very relatable. Because it's so relatable, you're so interested in it. Because it's so interesting, you continue to attend this story. Even when the story's not that good. See, not all stories are fluffy clouds and rainbows. Some of these stories aren't that good. But it takes the story to go downhill, you could say, for you to get tired of it. The same way as an actual novel, when the story seems to be just going downhill, that's when you just get tired. It feels like you have to really pull yourself to the book. You've lost that interest in it. Feels like you have to force yourself to read this book to the point where you kind of start making this decision. Is it really worth investing my energy in this book? The decision of maybe I shouldn't invest any more of my time and energy into this book, but I should just put this book down. That decision arises. And likewise, the same decision arises for you with the mind, that if you've had enough of that story and it's gone downhill, you're not enjoying the story, then it just simply requires you to become disinterested in it. But as long as there's the interest, as long as the story feels so relatable, as long as there's that identification, then it's always going to feel very attractive, enticing, alluring. It'll feel like you just can't resist a good story. So ask yourself, how interested are you in this story? You have to become more interested in the silence. You have to become more interested in the awareness that's aware of the story. Unless there's this disinterest in the story, unless there's an interest in what you are, the awareness, the silence, the peace that's beyond the story, then you continue to be so interested in the conflict of the story. You continue to relate to the character that you are identified with. Typically, if you're finding these videos and you're resonating with this message, you could see how I'm not sharing a story. So you must be identifying with the silence and the peace. You must be becoming more interested in the peace that you're experiencing while watching these videos. You must be relating to the stillness and silence that you're experiencing in these videos. And if you continue watching these videos, you must become interested. You must be interested in that which is beyond the story. So you'll start becoming less interested in the story, more interested in the silence. And you'll start feeling this natural attraction to silence, attraction to peace. Start feeling like the attention is withdrawing from the story, which is another way of saying you're just putting down the story. You're not attending to the story. See, it's your attention that's empowering the story. You wouldn't really know what the story is about in a novel unless you attended it. And by attending the novel, you're empowering the story. You're giving it the life. Without your attention, there's no life of the story. So stay interested in the stillness and the silence that you're experiencing. Stay interested in the peace that you're experiencing. You'll feel that you're naturally drawn back to it. And eventually, you'll discover it's what you are. Hopefully this helps. See you in the next one.